Good evening, Nico.
Hello.
Welcome to Melbourne.
I'm not quite arrived.
Yeah, well, you will tonight, I'm sure. And, well, let's start off. Where have you come from in terms of your Australian tour? Where do you call home these days? You've lived in America, England, Europe?
In my passport, I don't have a home. It says ohne festen Wohnsitz, which means without a fixed address.
Right.
And I prefer it that much because it's like being married when you have a home. God, it's terrible.
Have you ever found a place that you sort of were tempted to sort of start to call home and really put down some roots in? Any particular country? I think I read an interview recently where you were living in a part of England.
Not live on a ship. No, I don't live there anymore.
Right.
I live in Brixton now.
Brixton?
Yes.
That must be fairly intense.
Not as much as
Some
people
other
make
places.
out. I mean, like Hell's Kitchen on the Lower East Side in New York is much more dangerous.
Right. Now, you began your career in Europe and moved across via England to America. What attracted you, what actually moved you into music? When you first started playing, I think a lot of people feel that the first recorded Nico was with Velvet Underground. In actual fact, it was a single with Jimmy Page prior to that. How did Nico, the model and actress, find an attraction to music? What was the connection?
Well, first of all, I grew up on opera with my mother, taking me to opera when I was a child, and it sort of got branded in my brain. And
What about rock and roll? I mean, which is what you did first with Jimmy Page.
yeah, but I always preferred jazz already. As a young adolescent, I preferred jazz, free jazz.
Right.
And, well, yes, I met Bob Dylan, and he sort of changed the idea that I had that I should only sing torch songs, love songs.
Mm.
So I
Yes.
started singing Dylan songs, and I was on 3 Ready, Steady, Go shows in England with 2 Dylan songs and 1 Gordon Lightfoot song.
Well, you recorded a Gordon Lightfoot
Yes,
song with
the
Jimmy
same.
Page. And then what prompted you to move from England to America then after that particular record? What was the attraction about America?
Oh, it's Dylan's manager, Albert, who bought me a ticket and said I should come over there, that he can only do something for me over there.
It
And
seems...
that's how I met Andy again,
Right, in New York City.
whom I met just previously in Paris.
It seems that New York City at that stage was a place where if you moved among certain circles, all the circles of people seemed to interlock, that there was a chance of meeting a large community of people, more so probably than today, where it's a very crowded town. It seems there was a certain creative group of people who were working in areas, well, Warhol in media, and you had Dylan in music, and then you had the Velvet start out of that there was a lot of overlap.
Mm.
Yeah?
An overlap.
Well, you sort
Yes.
of could move between different groups of people.
Oh, you mean myself?
Yes.
Oh, no, I only wanted to be with the underground people. I wasn't interested in fashion anymore, and I also had studied acting with Lee Strasberg, which helped me a lot to sort of discover myself, like all young people always have to discover themselves, right?
I played a track off the debut LP for Velvet Underground earlier on, Femme Fatale. That and Tomorrow's Parties are 2 songs very identified with you. How did it come out that those songs were performed by you? I mean, listening to that first LP, I imagine that Venus in Furs or Run, Run, Run could well have been performed by you. How did you have a good feeling for those songs, or did Lou say, "Look, these are for you, Nico"? Or how did it come about? They were the two songs.
We just agreed upon them.
It just seemed right.
Yeah, it seemed right. We never thought about, analyzing every little thing.
Right.
It just happened, or it didn't, because 3 songs is all I sang in that group.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Except for improvisation.
Were the live performances that you were involved in different than the ones that recorded on that LP? Was that the sound that the Velvets made live, or was it?
No, there was more improvisation.
Mm. And
there was not only noise, but the kind of music you can hear when it's a storm outside, or that you can hear in elementary silence, I guess.
What, perhaps a little more like White Light, White Heat, the
Yes.
next LP? That was more the live sound.
Yeah. No, I thought the first one was quite the sound it was.
Right. Now, you made those 3 songs on that one LP.
Very crude. Not refined.
Andy Warhol's name's on the cover as producing that record.
I mean, Mo was the best drummer ever. I just heard her on that song at the hotel that you played before.
Right.
She has the best drum sound.
She's actually done a good LP of her own too, sort of a garage record. She plays all the instruments in recent times. It's really good. Louie Louie and
I don't know
all these
that.
old rock songs.
I saw her 3 summers ago in Los Angeles, and she was married to this woodcutter, and so he looked like. And she had grown her hair. She didn't look like a boy anymore.
Right, yeah, because some of the cover photos of those LPs were pretty deceptive, weren't they? Mo Tucker.
And she's not a good singer. She's only good on that one song, When You Close the Door.
Yeah, well, she's rough, but she's good. Well,
No, the tapes she gave me weren't so good, that's what I mean.
Right. Now, after that one record, you left the Velvet Underground to become Nico, your name on the records. What prompted that move away from the Velvets? Because it sounds like you actually enjoyed your time with them.
Oh, it's a personal thing, I think.
It went beyond the music.
Yes.
Right. Well, the records that you then produced, Chelsea Girl, was a big departure in that it was there was a lot of instrumentation on it, a lot of flute sounds,
Oh, the
very
flute,
crowded.
oh my God.
How did that come
I was so
about?
unhappy when I heard that result of that flute taking over.
No, it was a good producer though, wasn't it? It was Tom Dowd did that LP? Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson.
He's a very experienced producer. Did you feel he overwhelmed you a bit on that record, do you?
No, it's only when they dubbed the flute on top.
Oh, they put that on top.
Yes.
Right.
It was much better without. I mean, it gives it a more unified sound, I guess.
Right.
For, the overall feeling of a flute being up front all the time.
Be nice to hear it without it, if they could repress it or something without that flute. Perhaps
Yes.
one day. Of course, the notable thing about that record was, amongst the fact that it was your debut, but also it featured a Bob Dylan song that hadn't previously been recorded, and also Jackson Browne's first appearance as a
Jackson
songwriter.
plays good guitar on some of them. You can't even hear it.
But These Days
Because of
was
the
on that
flute.
too, that he wrote, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was that the first time Jackson's songs had been recorded? Would have been just about, I think.
Yes.
Right.
He's only 16.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, picturing Jackson Browne in New York City, because now his image is so very Californian and very, the laid-back sunshine, his sort of latter-day image in terms of his solo career, of him being involved in the more, what would you
Yes,
call
but
it?
his 2 wives committed suicide, or...
He seems a very intense man.
Yeah, he is very...
Mm. Now, the Dylan song that you recorded, I'll Keep It With Mine, Bob hasn't actually recorded that, or it hasn't been released until the Biograph set that's just come out. Was that a gift to you, or was that one that you heard and said, look, can I do that? Or did he say, look, this is for you?
No, he sang me a number of songs when he used to babysit for my son, Bob. And so he also sang that song, and so I asked him if I could sing that song. It's not that he ever gave me. He sent me a demo with the melody and the lyrics.
Well, we talked about Chelsea Girl being a fairly cluttered LP with the flute and everything on it, and certainly Marble Index and Desert Shore stripped things right back, didn't it? Back to very much you and your harmonium sounds compared to that record.
Well, it's not supposed to be noise, because most pop music to me is noise. So I just think, I guess it's what I said before, silence, but, when like a war is going on, that's sort of an elementary noise, an elementary silence that sometimes comes to an outbreak when it becomes, like an explosion.
It seems the way you're talking about the energy of the record and the sounds, that the drama training that you mentioned and working with those people actually started to integrate itself into you performing the songs, that there became much more performances of a very pared down sound and performance on those records.
Yes, they might not be perfect, but John likes the feeling that a song should be like being performed on stage, that it shouldn't be perfect. He never liked that for some reason. Not for himself, but for me.
Right. Now, the Marble Index is a quote from Wordsworth, I think, a poet. What was the significance of choosing that? A particular favourite of yours? Or?
I sometimes find a little of my own poetry in other poets, yes, incidentally or accidentally.
Right. Now, there was a bit of a break after those two LPs, and you actually left America.
I was making 7 films in Paris with Philippe Garel, which are more or less art movies.
Have they been shown very generally?
Not generally, no, only in cinematheques and film institutes.
Right. Well, part of the folklore, perhaps you could correct me if I'm wrong, looking at various books about you and what they've written about you, it seems to mention that in many ways leaving America was a sense of exile, that you're actually leaving America because it became a more dangerous place for you to remain.
Yes, because when you live in a dangerous place, you also become increasingly dangerous.
So it was
you might just wind up in jail.
A good time to leave.
Yes.
And you went across and lived in France.
No, I just had to go because something happened. Yes.
And you went to France, and then actually your next record, The End, was recorded in England with John Cale once again. How did that come about?
It took that long for the other contract to run out, first of all. I had sort of legal problems in it, so I had to wait till that contract ran out. And then John renewed contact with my first manager, Joe Lustig. That's how I made a record for him.
Called
Isle of Man, which is a branch of Island Records. But he never pays me a cent of royalties.
For that record?
No.
Called The End, and based on a Doors song. Did you know Morrison? Jim Morrison?
Yes, he was my soul brother.
Was he?
Yes.
Right. And
He told me to write songs. I never thought that I could, because when you come out of their fashion business, I mean, I did like flimsy sort of writing, not as, not systematical, but
well, certainly Jim Morrison's writing has endured the years.
he really inspired me a lot. It was like looking in a mirror, yes.
How successful have the Doors been when you met Jim? Were they actually the Doors where...
Oh, no, it was the very beginning.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What, prior to the first LP, or of the Doors LP?
No, it was the very first one.
Oh, yes.
1965.
Right. And he became... Did you meet him again in subsequent years?
Yes, in New York, and when I went back.
He went through a remarkable series of very intense changes as a person, it seems. They produced a remarkable amount of material on record compared to rock stars these days, about an LP a year or less, while they were together. It seems like he went through a very accelerated growth process as a person and as a writer. Very quick, you know, he sort of, everything came in on him very quickly.
Yes, like it happens with all big, musicians. It comes quickly, and most of the time it collapses, and once in a while it just remains. That's good.
Now, in that same year, you did that concert with John Cale, Kevin Ayers and Brian Eno, one-off concert where you actually, on the record, features the song The End. How long had it been since you'd performed on stage? A long time? You did that June the 1st, 1974.
No, that was right after we recorded The End. So.
A long time since you'd actually appeared in front of people, though? Or
No,
not?
I did still occasionally concerts, but on my own, with just the pump organ.
Right. What attracts you about the pump organ? It's on a lot of your records. You really like the resonance of it? It's something you enjoy playing? Or why that instrument?
Sounds like an orchestra if it's rightly amplified, if it's, rightly put through machinery.
Right. Do you play that on your current tour?
I mean, you can listen, you can hear different instruments in it.
Right. Well, after that, you actually went fairly quiet on us again until the Drama of Exile LP. It was quite a few years since you brought out a record after The End. What were you doing in those years?
I was making films.
Oh, that's when those films occurred?
Yes, that was after Desert Shore.
Right. And then Drama of Exile came up, which is an interesting record, and it incorporates a lot more of an Arabian sound than you'd had on the previous records. It seems to have, in my mind, a sense of the desert spaces in the Middle East. Yeah?
Yes, because we had Persian string instrument player.
Right.
He played all ancient string instruments and guitar.
Now, on that record, it featured Heroes, the David Bowie track, and it's been said that he wrote that song for you.
Not for
or
me,
about you.
but
He had you in mind in some form.
yes, I guess that's why he moved out to Berlin.
Right. It is a rather beautiful song, that one, isn't it? It's one of the better songs he's ever written, I think. Inspiring.
Lost feeling that as if nothing was possible because, if you go over the wall, they just shoot you down. That's what they do.
Divided.
It's very terrible. They should at least get rid of all the soldiers, standing there parade and let people go in and out freely. That's easy to be done.
On that same LP, you did a cover version of Waitin' for My Man from the First Velvets. Was that a song that you'd wanted to perform yourself? What attracted you about that song? Bit of a homage back to the first.
Which one?
Waitin' for My Man.
Oh, it's because the producer, Philippe Kilikini, at the time said I should do a cover song, and why not, Waiting for My Man. So I said, okay, it wasn't my idea.
Right. Well, then the most recent LP has been Camera Obscura, once again with John Cale, and with a couple of his musicians as well. How did you find recording that LP? It's a very much a 1980s sound, isn't it? It's got a big drum beat on a lot of tracks and lots of synthesizers.
Yes.
A bit of a change.
It's like I would have liked to have gone to the Amazon River. Just sail along the river and record my record there, right, with the drumming coming from every direction. Like in Fitzgeraldo, that's how I first... I always have to see a sound. I can't listen to it only. I have to actually see a film, or when I don't see a film, I rather see the music than I hear it, or both.
Mm.
But I see it more than I hear it.
Does that mean when you're writing your songs that they go through that process, that you actually have to...
Maybe I'm a frustrated movie director.
Sounds like it. Well, that LP, Camera Obscura, with John Cale, how did you find working with John once again after so long? Is it a comfortable relationship? Very often long relationships aren't necessarily comfortable ones. They can be...
Oh, it's like it's always been. Nothing has changed at all.
Right.
And that's exactly what's so valuable
Now
about our relationship. Yes.
And you borrow a couple of John's musicians that play in his band to back you in some instances, no? Or they
Not
played
at
on
all. It's the other way around.
Aha.
He borrowed the faction for his record, Artificial Intelligence.
Right.
No, it's the other way around, because he didn't have any good ones at the time.
And that brings us up to 1986 in Melbourne. See, it wasn't too painful going back to that history. We went through fairly quickly. The band that you're now with, the Faction, who are the Faction? What are the instruments in it that people will see in Melbourne?
Jim is from Oxford, and he plays the keyboards and synthesizer. And he's a jazz musician, a classical trained jazz musician. And Eric Random.
Eric Random?
Yeah, he also has his own group.
Yes.
But he plays tabla and synthesizer for me.
Oh, really?
Also, yes.
I've got a number of his records.
Yes?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, that'll
good.
be interesting.
And also, there's Toby, who had abandoned me for the record because he got married to a South American Danish girl.
Interesting combination.
Yes, because she's South American, living in Denmark. And so he didn't play on the record, unfortunately. So I was only making it with two musicians, Jim and Ditz. Graham Ditz is his name. He's a fantastic percussionist. He plays on the album. But Toby is very good too.
So the three-piece band and yourself.
Yeah.
What do you play on stage?
Only the organ.
The organ. Is it an acoustic organ like a harmonium, or is it electronic?
Pump organ.
A pump organ, oh yeah.
From India.
They sound much better than the electronic ones, don't they, the real thing? Much more soul.
Well, it sounds like the wind.
Well, looking back, we've talked about the LPs that you've recorded. What are your favourite LPs or songs that you feel, if you were going to have a Nico song that was going to be remembered about you, or a record, which one of the ones do you think would be the one you'd want?
The last one and Marble Index.
Right. Is there a connection between those two, do you think, or is it just something about the songs or the performance?
It's maybe because it was my first album that John produced, and the last one is also one that it was like I did my first record with John. Yeah, it was the same feeling about it.
Do you enjoy live performance? Do you like playing in front of people?
Oh yes, a lot.
Right.
I would live on a stage if I could.
Right. And what, in terms of the songs that you perform in your current tour, what can people expect to hear? Do they hear the new LP? Quite obviously, probably some tracks from that. What do they hear of the old songs? Any?
Yes, but I'd rather not say.
Keep it a surprise. Well, your first show is on at the club tonight. Without getting to National Inquiry...
I'm not the type of person that writes hundreds of songs like
Right.
Dylan does.
Right.
So, it's only, out of 6 albums, an hour and a half of material.
You've been involved, without getting too National Enquirer about it, you've been involved with, well, Jimmy Page, John Cale, Lou Reed, Jim Morrison, Jackson Browne, Bob Dylan. Iggy Pop talks about you in his biography. Those personal and...
Really, quarter trifles he has to talk about. Terrible.
Yes, he seems to feel you had contributed to his adult education in many forms. Now, all those people, though, in terms of having worked with them, which one do you think you've learnt the most from, in terms of working a personal...
Musically, the Velvet Underground, and lyrically, Jim Morrison, and Dylan also, but I think I prefer Jim Morrison's poetry.
Right. The American Prayer LP, have you heard that one? The one where it's just him
Yes.
doing it?
I
That's
heard them all.
Remarkable record, that one, isn't it? Well, so you're in Melbourne, you're doing 3 concerts. We can hear perhaps some of the oldies. We'll have to turn up and see if that's certainly some of the new LP, Camera Obscura. When you leave Australia, where to for Nico and what to do? More music or...
Yes, I want to write more songs in India. I'd stop there for a month. And then I have to go to England and continue singing.
When you heard that you were going to
And
be...
Japan, oh yes, I have to go to Japan in March or April.
When you heard you were going to be touring Australia, what was your reaction? It's a long way away, I'd imagine, from where you've spent most of your life. That's all right. Where you spent most of your life. Was it a surprise that you'd be popular enough to tour Australia? It's very remote from...
Yes, but I'm not as popular as other musicians, some of the others. I mean, I still play, small circuits.
Have you any personal favourites now in terms of other performers that you inspire you? You talked about the ones that you talked about the inspiration of Morrison and people like that. Is there anyone around at the moment?
Musically, I only get inspired by Egyptian music and some Pakistani music, Arab music. I love Arabic music.
Yeah, well, there's that real tinge on Drama of Exile, which unfortunately is a very difficult album to get. There was some problem there, wasn't there, with its release?
And music like Philip Glass and Stockhausen and Steve Reich, I love that too.
Philip Glass is actually coming out here in March with Laurie Anderson, which should be interesting. Well, where do you go? You said you're a gypsy to some degree, that you don't have a passport that says you live anywhere, but after the sojourn in India, where do you return to then?
To London.
To London, to Brixton.
Yes, no, I have to go back on tour, yes. Right after that I go to Japan.
Busy time, 1986.
Because it's the year of my Chinese sign, which is the tiger.
A good
That's
year.
only 12 years, every 12 years.
Right. Well, look, thanks for sparing the time tonight. I realise that a late flight down from Sydney, and then you've got the performance tonight. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.